Vanessa Marsot is such a light in this community. She has been an activist for years, and she heads up the Allura Wellness Center, and she will be talking about that as well as her history with veganism. And she is so fortunate. She's spreading the word all over the world. She traveled last year, and she's based in Egypt and California, and she's going to talk more about that as well. And for someone with her background as an actress and a speaker and an activist and a business owner, an entrepreneur, she brings wisdom and light and joy and a lot of passion to everything that she does. So I'll just leave it up to her now to give us a further introduction. And I guess where I want to start is tell me how you got started with the vegan world.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Donna, for inviting me, and Judy for having me on. What a thrill to be here. I just got back a week ago from Egypt, so I'm definitely thrilled to talk about that. But in terms of veganism, I think that I was born with some sort of taste aversion. I don't know if it was psychological right away. I always loved animals, and I can't say that cognitively I made the connection as a young child, but meals were torture for me because my parents wouldn't let me get up from table until I had finished my food. Now, if it were pasta or something like that, no problem, but they put these dead animals in front of me, and I absolutely wouldn't eat it. And so it was a constant struggle. And that was really, I love all animals. I'm a non-speciesist, but I do have to say I'm more of a cat person than a dog person, except during my childhood when I wished we had a dog because the cat just wouldn't eat my food fast enough. I'd be like giving my dead animal to the cat. Hurry, don't chew it, swallow. They're coming back into the room. The dog would have just gulped it down right away. So that was the one time I wish we'd had a dog. But basically, after struggling constantly with meals, when I was 12, my mother said that I said no more, and that I absolutely straight up refused, and she no longer tried to force me to eat animals. So I was, from a young age, for some reason, whatever my chemistry, makeup, psychology, I don't know. I'm a psychotherapist. I've tried to figure it out. I can't say as a child. But so I became, I would say, a vegetarian from a pretty young age. I didn't know about the ethics. I never liked eggs, butter, and milk. So I think that was part of the taste aversion. But I did have ice cream. And I would say that it was kind of off and on from college. I was vegan without ever knowing what it really meant. And it's when I saw videos of baby male chicks getting ground alive. And also, I don't know which was first, that or the images of cows getting basically raped and having their children stolen from them and being hooked up to machines with these udders, that I remember whatever video it was, I said, that's it. No taste bud is worth causing suffering to another being. There's absolutely nothing worth it to me. And so when I saw that, I instantly committed to being vegan, went to my fridge. There was fortunately nothing I needed to get rid of, so I was happy about that. And since then, it's been my mission at this point to spread the word about saving our animal friends, which also saves our health and the environment, and spreading the word whenever I can. And I think it's so easy these days and so much fun to experiment with all the wonderful options we have out there, the thousands, if not millions, of spices and herbs and different fruits and vegetables I encounter when traveling. So it's just been a source of joy to me to be on this mission.
So you've been traveling lately. Can you speak to what your experiences have been like finding vegan food, promoting vegan living in Egypt and the other places that you've traveled? Oh, and I also didn't mention that you're also an amazing pole dancer, and you know, just and as you're answering these questions, if you can also keep in the back of your mind, like, so you have all of these amazing skills and talents, like, where does the veganism cross over? Where is it a conflict? You know, how have you approached it through the acting and traveling and psychotherapy? Like, just give us a rich understanding of all of the weaving of your worlds that have happened. Yes.
I love the way you think and how you're texturing it so richly. Thank you for that. So basically, I had to close down the storefront of my vegan organic wellness center, Allura Wellness. I guess a few years ago. I was going to say last year. Nope. A few years ago in 2020, due to COVID, when we could no longer keep small businesses open, and I could no longer maintain this building with all that I had going in it, with a dance center and healing arts, wellness center, and cafe. So I decided, after closing, after a few weeks of crying and devastation and heartbreak, that my dream of many years that I'd finally attained had just been shut down. I suddenly realized, well, this isn't the end. This is actually the next step of where I wanted to go, which is to have it be global and to have intentional communities. My ultimate goal is basically to have a large piece of land where we can have we can grow all our own to be completely self-sufficient. And I'll talk more later about the permaculture retreat I went on, where I had to design a whole system, which I did. And also have an area for rescue animals, so that we can, whatever area we're in, go to any pounds or shelters and take all the animals that would normally otherwise be killed, and have round-the-clock vet students. That was my dream, watching and taking care of them. So I decided I can start traveling and see where is another option where I can open, and maybe some other place I want to live, because I thought at this point I want to move on from Los Angeles. It's been great and I'm from here, but I want to live somewhere else. And I'm half French, half Egyptian, and France has always called to me. Never really thought of living in Egypt, but I decided to start traveling. I couldn't get into France. It was very hard I'm a French citizen, but for people coming from America at the time, it was very hard to get in because of COVID. So I decided I'm going to go to Africa because I can get in. So I started traveling around. I started in Morocco. And to speak to your point of interweaving some of the aspects, I definitely use psychotherapy when I approach talking about veganism with other cultures, because there is so much, even though I'm half Egyptian, I obviously look like a white Westerner, and I want to be very careful of not being patronizing, or I'm telling you what to do, or I know better type of attitude, especially different culture. I grew up in a fairly secular household, but I have an awareness of Islam because that's my mother's origin, even though she wasn't practicing. And my father, French Catholic, actually converted to Islam to marry her so the marriage would be legal in Egypt. So, but we did not grow up with any kind of religion, but I have a cultural and historical awareness, and so I wanted to be mindful. And I found that when I talk to people about my passionate belief in the connectedness of all beings and how much I love animals, and it makes me sad when they suffer, that I feel pain when I see them in situations that are against their will, where they're tied up and they are held hostage and they are tortured and killed. And when I would speak of this to people, no one ever argued with me. They all would just see that, and they would say, I really see how passionate you are about animals and how much you care, and that seems like such a great thing. And they would all say to me that I'm going to go to heaven because I treat animals well. Why not have heaven here, right here? Why do we have to wait for some theoretical other place? If you think that's a good thing to treat animals that way, you can do that too. Why not? And they would start saying, well, I do want to cut down on eating animals, and how can I prepare things? And then I would give them all kinds of ideas. And in so many cuisines, there are already so many vegan options. So Morocco, you have tagines and couscouses and all kinds of things that are vegan. So I found a lot of receptivity. I had some arguments about the Quran in many countries where some people would say, well, God says to do this. And I would always say, isn't the point of religion to be kind and compassionate? And they would all say, yes. Is it kind and compassionate to, or I would ask them if they thought animals felt pain and had spirits and souls, and they'd say, yes. Is it compassionate to hurt animals? No. Well, then wouldn't it be even more compassionate not to hurt animals if we don't have to? Let's say God was meeting you where you were at the beginning when he supposedly wrote the Quran. I wouldn't say supposedly, but wrote the and isn't it true that we can make different choices now because we have free will and it's been more time, so we have more options? And nobody argued with me. They all kind of would listen and say, oh, I can't argue that. That's a good point. So I kind of approached any discussions with people from a very personal perspective, but also philosophical. So there wasn't any heat or animosity in our discussions. They were actually ones where we felt closer afterwards and more aware of each other's perspectives. And so in any case, I'm traveling throughout Morocco. There's no pole dancing there, so didn't do any of that. Jordan, where I met a woman that my friend Paige, whom Donna knows, introduced me to, who has a vegan restaurant. And we, only one in Jordan, we traveled around Jordan together, and she said, you should think about going to Egypt. There's a lot of vegan activity there if you're thinking of a place to open. So I hadn't been thinking of going to Egypt, but I thought, okay, let me go. So I went to Egypt, and in a town on the Red Sea, which is a few hours south of Cairo, I found a pole dance studio. And there are a bunch in Cairo, but not a lot in Egypt. And everything is an opportunity to speak about veganism. Every chance you get, like strength and how do you maintain this pace? And it just lends itself so easily. And so I also would tell everyone, well, I'm here because I'm looking for a place to open my vegan center. I happened to tell the owner of this pole studio that, and she said, I'm vegan. And then she said, would you like to teach pole dancing here and collaborate on vegan activities? And I thought for a second, well, if the universe is dropping something in my lap, who am I to say no? So I immediately said, okay. So I agreed to come back. I had some more traveling to do. And then I went back a few months later. I went to Dubai, Rwanda, Zanzibar, and then back to LA. Costa Rica for a permaculture retreat, back to LA, Peru, Ecuador for the Amazonian Fruit Festival, and then back to Egypt. Did a few festivals there with her, collaborated with her, and met at the last festival I just did, which was on May 29th. I met these not vegan, but chefs who were making vegan food who were interested in expanding. And we talked about opening a vegan restaurant together and doing some vegan cooking shows. And several of the vendors at the event expressed an interest in having a regular kind of farmer's market where we would have fruits and vegetables and also prepared foods and arts and crafts and doing it on a more regular basis. So I just thought, wow, here in Egypt, we could be having a vegan farmers market and a vegan restaurant. This would be amazing. And so I'm going to be pursuing that. I'm going to be going back in a few months and keep going with that. So it's all been really fun and really exciting, and creating communities. You see all these people come out saying, gosh, I've been wanting something like this. I'm so glad you're doing this event. And there's nothing more gratifying than that, and having a forum where people can meet, get to know each other, and feel like they have support. So that's been very, very exciting. I hope that began to answer your multi-dimensional question.
Yes. It was a perfect weaving in and out of that. And I would love to also know, tell me some of your most thrilling high points and some of your challenges, because as we know, especially these times, the last few years, it's a different world. Mm-hmm. So can you just speak to any of the challenges and or excitement, probably funny, maybe even a funny story that's come your way?
Yeah, sure. Let me talk about the challenges first, because then I can go to the more fun stuff after. Some of the challenges are, I would say, that there is so much normalized violence. And you see it it's just right out there in the Middle East and African countries. They don't hide it behind walls. And I can't say which is better or worse. Torturing and killing animals is torturing and killing animals, whether it's in the open or behind your ag-gag walls. It doesn't matter. It's still torture, but it's just much more overt there. So you walk down any street and you can see a bunch of chickens in cages crammed in together, and the stench you smell blocks away, and you might see them grab one by the neck, and that's the one that's going to have her throat slit. And so you see that in the farmers markets, you see that on the street during Eid, which was a Muslim festival, and I was there for that. I would see sheep and lambs and goats with their 4 limbs tied up in a car being carried that way, which would just break my heart every time. Anytime you go to the farmer's market to get fruits and vegetables, you do see the cages, and I have filmed. I've asked to film to be able to post and show people what's going on. And so I have gone behind the counter and filmed them slitting a bunny's throat, slitting chickens' throats and watching them bleed out. And they are absolutely horrendous. And anyone who thinks that they're done humanely, kindly, with some religious whatever law, that's not the case. I can tell you from personal experience, having witnessed and filmed a bunch, that's not how it's happening. And these animals had no choice in the matter. So that was incredibly challenging for me to just deal with on a personal, daily, not necessarily daily, but at least weekly level. And before I did one of my festivals, I encountered a friend in my apartment building who was vegan. And she had some friends of hers with her, a bunch of guys. And once they saw me, oh, you're the one doing the vegan festival. So immediately you have target over your head for, okay, what's coming now? And some of them had, rational points they wanted to make. And then they would say, oh, it's better for sex to have animal products. And I said, well, actually, it clogs your arteries and makes you have a much higher chance of erectile dysfunction. So you're going to talk about that with me. Okay, let's go. I'm ready. Okay. So, another one was saying stuff about the Quran, and I said, remind me of that passage in the Quran that tells you to get drunk and get high. Just wondering, having fun with them. He said none of the arguments are working, and I'm joking and laughing with them because I'm not going to get all uptight and worked up because that serves no purpose in my opinion. But one of the guys at one point kind of, I guess, when things get under somebody's skin, at least me as a psychotherapist, I sit there and analyze going, I'm wondering if it got under his skin. He saw that none of the tactics was working and that there was no kind of breaking my argument chain, that everything they would say, I would have a response. So I'm just guessing that this is part of his own defense mechanism. But he's just started saying, I'm going to bring a sheep tomorrow right in front of your door and slaughter it right in front of you. I had to breathe for a moment because I had a reaction of, expletives and just the nature of somebody who would say that to somebody who clearly is passionate about animals. And I didn't want to get to his level of response, but I just said, I don't surround myself with people who behave without compassion. And if you think that's funny or you think that is an appropriate thing to say to me, that's not somebody I'm going to have in my circle, because I have people who are respectful of my views and I'm respectful of theirs. And you may think that's a joke, but to me it sounds cruel and disregarding my belief system. And of course there was the whole, just take a joke. A joke is not a defense against saying something unkind. After that, I think he sort of didn't really say much, but his friends apologized to me. And my friend, who's their friend, was like, I'm so sorry. This has never happened before. They've never been like this. And I was like, appreciate that. But those are some of the challenges that I've had, which are things that I might expect. Some of the high points are that you never know when you're talking and speaking and spreading the word who is going to be influenced and who's going to have some kind of revelation. But something that to me, I don't think it's necessarily funny. I laugh because it makes me happy. But I had my vegan festival there, and I had some pole dance friends show up. one of them's not a vegan, and I've been talking to her a little, like while teaching her in class. I kind of tell her things about muscle recovery and, animal products and veganism and whatever, and she's become very interested. And I had told her I was going to be making lentil caramel brownies for the event. And that sounded very strange. How do you have lentils in a dessert? This sounds odd. And I had told a few other people as well who all thought very strange. So I made my brownies, and they're very rich. They're very, very dense, very heavy, like very, very chocolatey and oil-free and flaxseed and oats and just super healthy. Anyway, I didn't remind them that these are my lentil caramel brownies, and I was giving them little samples to people, some vendors who were skeptical, and my friend and this chef, and they were all like, "Oh my God, this is the best brownie ever!" And I said, "These are my lentil caramel brownies," and they were all like, "No way, no! How can this have lentils in it? There's no possible way!" Just so excited that I started filming their testimonials. I filmed them all, just posted them on Facebook because they were so much fun. And the chef, who is an internationally trained chef, studied in Geneva and throughout Germany and America and whatever, he was like, "I need your recipe. I need to make this." I was like, awesome. It's just so much fun when you can surprise people and they can think, wow, I can have a dessert that is so rich and there's no cream, no butter, no eggs, no animal products. And they were all so clearly astonished by the brownies that I just think I'm going to convert people through my brownies.
You accumulated a lot of brownie points there.
I did. I sure did. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a great time. I think you have to keep your sense of humor because there are times when you just want to cry, which is fine too. I let myself feel whatever, and I meditate regularly. But a sense of humor is key, especially when dealing with foreign cultures and mores and all that. Jump in. I'll tell you a little bit about my permaculture retreat in Costa Rica. I had a lot of people there. It was supposed to be a vegan. I thought they said a plant-based residency, and I get there and I hear people talking about wanting to learn to hunt and live off the land, and I'm like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
Yes.
They're also serving honey, eggs, and milk, and I thought, oh my God. And I was just not happy about it, and I spoke to the management, I spoke to the kitchen, and I wanted to leave, quite frankly, but I decided to stay to learn what I could and see what influence I could have. And so and the retreat had people from all over the world. So it was definitely a multicultural thing. And it had aerial arts and flow arts and the permaculture course. So it was a very eclectic kind of program. And in the program and they made me vegan food at every meal. I had my own separate kind of things. During the course, the teacher was definitely not vegetarian or vegan. And at one point she even said, when you're setting this up, you need animals because you have to have redundancy of function. And if there's a famine or your crops aren't producing or you run out of food, you're not going to be so vegetarian at that point. And so I said to her, well, so after you've eaten your animals, then what? Then what's your redundancy of function? How do you keep going? And she was like, well, hopefully things would change at that point. And I was like, so, and you also had people saying, well, maybe it's more sustainable to just get animal fat from the farm next door rather than import cashews from California thousands of miles away and fossil fuels and blah, blah, blah. So what I did for my final presentation, for my permaculture presentation, is I talked about the difference between methane and carbon monoxide in terms of climate change, and also the water usage of getting fat and milk and other things from animals versus even almonds, which is the maligned crop that supposedly uses so much water, uses 184 liters of water to produce a liter of almond milk, but for dairy milk, you need about 800. So there isn't any conversation there. If you really want to be low water, go with soy milk, which takes about 28 liters. So I had all these numbers on the wall, on the board about, an entire class of people not vegan at all. All these numbers and statistics about water use and climate stuff and why vegan permaculture piece of, project in Egypt, of all places. And so I did my presentation, came in with my partner, dancing to ancient Egyptian music, pretended we were time travelers coming from ancient Egypt to the present to teach them about permaculture and what we were going to do in this piece of land, help them out. And we're dancing and offering chocolate date balls to everybody. Everyone at this point is like screaming and yelling and just having a great time. And when I do my presentation and I talk about how we can grow everything that we need, everything. We can use organic cotton for textiles and fabrics, and hemp can be building materials, and not only the ropes that we think of, but you can make bricks out of it and support structures and walls and so many different things, and it's actually very easy to grow things in the desert because they don't have parasite and fungus issues. It's if you can get enough water, that's kind of your only real huge consideration. But I showed all the different fruits and vegetables and beans and everything we could grow. At the end of my presentation, I had a bunch of people coming up to me saying, "Oh my God, I want to do something like this. This is so inspiring. You have to let us know how it's going. The teacher said, keep us up to date," all this stuff. The guy I had sort of not necessarily avoided, because I did become friends with him, but he was the one who was talking about fishing and hunting. He came up to me. He said, "I want to go vegan. I want your help." And I was like, oh. Like, there's nothing better here than something like this,
Eureka.
And he told me his grandmother, he's Mexican, lives in a small town in Mexico, and he says his grandmother, he thinks, is basically vegan. She never eats animal products, and he's like, "I want to do that too. And the vegan cheeses we made here and this and that were so amazing that I want to do this." So just keep talking, keep spreading the word. My way is doing it happily, joyfully, and showing my excitement about things. There is no right way, or we'd all be doing it and everyone would already be vegan. But I think that you just have to speak up. You have to speak, because you never know who's listening. You never know who might get an idea. Maybe not today, tomorrow. They may talk to somebody who might. You just never know. And it's just so rewarding seeing people's reactions, especially when you do it with a loving attitude. And I think that is probably key for me.
Mine is always like, "Welcome to the table, taste the food. I want you to get excited about being in the kitchen," and keeping it really positive and upbeat. And there are times that I'm really wanting to shake somebody up and, all that. So I just really want to, first of all, honor you for the way that you do present the information, and Judy as well. She's amazing that way. And I also want to are there times that this other person, other ego, wants to kind of come out of the closet and start raging?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I want to applaud you, Donna, because through the years I've known you, you've always been so rational and calm and gentle, and that energy, I think, is very welcoming to people. So I do think it's more effective. There's a place for everything, I believe, but I do tend to think that our approaches, to me, resonate more with people. But I was a debater in high school and college, and there's nothing more than I like than a good argument. And I can get really passionate and really excited and carried away. And then I can start seeing the other person just as opponent, different viewpoint, where I will forget about that, need for human civilizing kind of tempering of arguments. And so there have been times when I have gotten so worked up that I think I was acting more as a bulldozer than as a, other person. And I've had my buttons pushed. I think I'm much better now than earlier on when I was more, I would say, zealous, where I would get triggered, where people would make stupid jokes that you hear 100,000 times and you're just so tired of it. Like, "Hey, how about some meat?" And I would say, "Hey, how about a heart attack?" I just realized that even when people are making these, what I think of as really pointless or silly comments, they're still trying to connect in some way. Yeah. They may be doing it unskillfully and coming from a confused place where they may not even know where they're standing, but they're still trying to interact. And the minute somebody's interacting now, I welcome that because they're at least still engaged in some way in the conversation. And so I applaud that. And so I'm not going to, my goal is to never dismiss, mock, or in any way put somebody down, even if they're saying something I think is stupid. Because I've said stupid things like afterwards where I was like, oh my God, had my brain just taken a vacation? I want to have empathy for people. I say dumb things. I say forgetful things. I say clueless, whatever things. So I want to be empathic with those when they're in those places and saying those things and not shut the dialogue down, but instead engage them in a way where I can maybe change the conversation so that it can be perhaps a little more proactive and more engaged, at least on my part, and switch the dynamic so that it's not an adversarial one. Because if you can get somebody to see your perspective, even if they don't agree with it, at least you know you've succeeded in terms of clear communication, and that's really a bonus for me. So those times that I feel like biting somebody's head off, I just breathe deeply, give myself space to calm down, notice my racing heart rate or burning cheeks, and just keep on breathing through that until I feel calm enough to respond in a way that I'm not going to be ashamed of, because basically I want to always be somebody I can respect. And I don't want to ever say something where I'm going to think, oh, I showed them, but I don't really have a good opinion of how I behaved or my integrity. So that's what keeps my mouth sometimes from mouthing off.
And right now we do have an activist support group that meets once a month on Zoom. So for anybody out there who is an activist who has some of these issues, there is support out there, because being an activist is a wonderful job because you're speaking to things that you're passionate about, and it's also very challenging. We do have support out there, people.
Do you work with Lisa Levinson?
Yeah, so I haven't gone for the last few months, but it's been really wonderful because people bring current issues that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
If they're running a nonprofit or if they've had some interaction with their family, and you bring it to the hive, you bring it to the people that have had experience, and that collective wisdom gets shared. And it's very positive. Yeah. And we have VegNet Bend here in Bend, which is a wonderful nonprofit organization that we're getting to be social again, which is so exciting. So I think the last time I saw you, I think was at the Natural Product Expo West. Have you been to an Expo West since then? And or are there favorite new products that have come out that you think you want to represent or have in Egypt?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think I've been to an expo. I think they were canceled. This year I didn't go. I think I don't know if I was even in the country, but the previous ones had been canceled since I saw you at. In terms of favorite products, oh my gosh, there's so much innovation. There's constantly new things that are really, really great. I brought some of the Derma E products to Egypt, and people really like that because it's hard to find vegan, eco, non-toxic skincare. So that was in Cairo you can, but the area I'm in, not so much. And they really, I have to say they produce a lot of good products there. So I don't necessarily think I would be importing too many, but there's one product from there that I'd love to have here. Well, two products actually, which one is Lara's. It's a mother and daughter women's collective, fair trade in Egypt, all organic. And they have these date balls, chocolate and different nut date balls that they have that are just amazing, and I think would do really well here. I just ran out of time, but I'm going to talk to them about possibly distributing them here. So when I do Allura Wellness events here in Los Angeles, I can have those. The other one is this date spread that is so light and fluffy. It's not like a heavy, thick date paste, but they flavor it with all natural and organic, and it has a cinnamon and a hazelnut and different flavors. And it's just amazing to have on apples or any kind of, crisps or whatever kind of thing. So those are some vegan products from there that I really, really liked. In terms of here, I I'm always amazed with Ether Beauty. They do great cosmetics that are zero waste, cruelty free, all vegan, and very, very healthy for the skin. So I'm a big fan of theirs. There's a lot of BIPOC eco brands that I really like that have some amazing products. And I would just say, I tend to eat whole food plant-based, so I don't buy any packaged food things. So I may sample them here and there, but I mainly just eat high raw and just eat lots of fruits and vegetables and having a little bean. So
So let's hear about the fruit festival that just happened.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. Yesterday it was at the MOA Wellness Center. So it's a Japanese wellness center that does energy healing and tea ceremonies and massage. And we brought in, I had a bunch of Venezuelans who were all so different. That was what was really great. It was a small event, but they were all so different. We had one that does acai bowls where he's getting the acai. He is from Colombia, and he has contacts with people in the Amazon where he's getting it very fair trade and helping regenerate the Amazon as he's getting these products, because obviously we know the Amazon is really threatened at this point. And he does these incredible acai bowls, which were so delicious that everybody was walking around with an acai bowl. We had some cold pressed juices. We had the farmer from the MOA Center, because they have a farm in Fresno who has all these biodynamic organic fruits that he brought, all kinds of luscious stone fruits, peaches and apricots, and so many just incredible things. We had some wonderful jewelry, all handmade. We had some activist groups like LA Animal Save and the Vegan Vet, our Mighty. And we also had a few other booths of amazing products. We had some fun surprises. We had speakers inside on the virtual program. We had Dr. Morse and Dorit, who is the founder of this festival. She was running the live portion while I was running she was running the virtual program while I was running the live actual one, or in-person one, I should say. And so they had speakers all day and the energy healing and all that. And outside where we were, we had the booths, and we had a guy who had run all the way from Miami. And I said, and where do you sleep at night? And he pointed to his waist and showed me a photo. This is my house. He has this belt that he wears where he has a hammock in it that he'll hang up, and that's where he sleeps. And he's run all the way from Miami. He plans to keep running throughout the world. He's from England. And so we had an impromptu speech by him, which was incredible. And then one of the vendors said, I do sound healing. Would you like a sound healing session? Yes. So towards the end, we did sound healing, and then a guy who does fire dancing. So it was just like all these wonderful gifts. When you create community, all these people just come out and say, oh, I have this. How about that? Would you be interested? Yes. Oh my gosh, wonderful. So it just became, we ended much later than intended, even though I had thought to myself at 10 a.m. with all the chaos of it starting and Vanessa, question all over. I was like, is it 7 o'clock yet? Oh my God, when's it going to end? By the time we ended, it was past 8, and we were on this high because there was just this wonderful community of fruit lovers who were just having a great time just being with each other and talking and sharing and different experiences. And I even met a few people, including this guy, Sebastian Sebcam, is his Facebook thing. He and this other guy are going to be at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, which I'm going to in August.
Woodstock is in Woodstock, New York, or?
Yeah. It's at Camp Walden in New York. I've never been, never seen the actual Woodstock area. It's so mythical in my mind. Yeah. And so I'm really excited. And now I know some people there.
Yeah. And the Woodstock concert actually happened in Bethel, New York, but the town of Woodstock is actually one of the few places that I would probably live if I couldn't live here anymore. It's a great little pocket of alternative wonderfulness.
Oh wow! Why is it called Woodstock? Why did they call it Woodstock?
I don't know all the history. Judy, do you know that history? Yeah, I know.
I don't.
I'm not sure. I should know, but I don't.
It's probably a catchier name, Woodstock. That's just,
Yeah,
that's that
right. So, yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, well, that's our fruity community. So actually this weekend I had a talk that I gave to the an Indonesian climate change conference that was happening that I did at 5:30 a.m. yesterday. So not a morning person. And then went to the fruit festival, did that all day. And so it's been an action-packed weekend. And then I actually had a therapy client who has, since being in treatment with me, has gone vegan. So totally on her own. So it's been an action-packed, exciting weekend, and I'm really looking forward to I might go check out the weekly vegan street fair just because it's hard to resist any activity when I'm in town.
I know. It's my favorite event. Judy and I have talked about it. We've been wanting to do a street festival here, mostly because I really miss the ones in California.
Yeah.
If LA could be like a half an hour away, I would be such a happy kid.
Vanessa, I wanted to ask you if there's someone that you've mentored to transition to veganism that has had healings of physical ailments or mental. Yeah, and a lot of times I think we probably never know how many people we've influenced or helped in that regard.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. And when I teach pole and yoga, I teach yoga as well. And yoga ahimsa is basically about veganism, not harm to any beings. It doesn't say to any humans, it says to any beings. So that one is a natural. But because I'm in that community a lot and I talk about that, and I think a lot of people there, both through the yoga and through the change in reducing or eliminating animal products, have had fewer back problems and knee problems and things like that. And I heard an amazing story. This has nothing to do with me, just I met them. A gentleman was diagnosed with MS in his early 20s, and it was very debilitating, and he couldn't walk, and he was looking at a wheelchair and all kinds of things. And he did some research and realized that going vegan would help, and he went vegan and incorporated a lot of sea moss, which I think is an amazing healing plant. And looking at him telling this story, you would never in a million years know that he suffered ever from anything, because he's fit, he's toned, he's in great shape, high energy. And just to think this guy could not walk and was in a wheelchair maybe 10 years before that, it's just remarkable. And he attributes it entirely to removing animal products from his diet. So that was really inspirational to hear that. He's a vendor at the weekly street fair. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the next wave of things for veganism, is those stories of not only the health and wellness and physical health, but the mental health, which is such an issue right now. And sometimes vitamin B will help somebody, or vitamin D will help somebody, or, get the prescription pad out and write here, have some fruits and vegetables. And sometimes just the simplest thing can really bring people back. Oh, yeah. And if we can listen to that and open our minds to that, yes, instead of looking for the next pharmaceutical or the next, we're just always looking outside of ourselves, and we're looking for something that will take care of it right away. And it's a process. Our bodies are a process. Our minds go through a process. And if we can nurture it along through food and good air and good water and good mindset, we'll really be a much better, I believe, better society. And I would love to see veganism. I mean, I can see you being a psychotherapist and having graduated Yale and having all this life experience of bringing that message out more. So maybe a TED Talk or your next radio interview. Yes, this is even better than TED. I would love that. But I think that because people have a hard time tolerating discomfort in general, because we code experiences as good or bad, and I want to avoid the bad and grasp onto the good and hold on to it longer, we're in this constant state of anxiety of either pulling towards us in desperation to keep or pushing away. And I think that makes it really hard to just be present and in the moment and just tolerate what's going on and notice it, whatever it is. And meditation has helped me a lot with that, and not coding bad and good and that sort of thing. So we wouldn't be so needing of instant fix. If we had that mindset, we would see that it's a process and that we didn't get to this state. If we're in a state of dis-ease, we didn't get to this state really quickly, and we're not going to get out of it in a healthy way really quickly. And if we do the pharmaceutical route, we're going to just have, that those side effects are going to then be medicated by this one for those side effects, and etc. When so many times the answer, it does lie in our food and environment and mindset. And that if we can really look to the healing properties of plants that satisfy so many of our modern ailments, then we wouldn't need to be resorting to things outside ourselves. We could have the pharmacy in our cupboards and in our fridges and not be looking to the experts and the gurus to do it, but have a healthy lifestyle that has a lot of fresh produce of many different colors, and we wouldn't always be seeking for that other, the answer, the somebody else to heal me, some product, have it be quick, have it be somebody else, that we could be more self-actualized if we really did that self-work, that self-esteem work, valuing ourselves, all of it going together. I think that we would be able to take care of ourselves in a much kinder and more nurturing way, and that would also extend outwards to how we treat other beings, because if we're so kind and loving to ourselves, it becomes intolerable to want to hurt any other being.
I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you are doing, first of all, and thank you for being here.
Oh.
You are building an amazing legacy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
I think another name I'm going to call you is magnet. You're such a magnet. You hang out in all of these different modalities, and just your joy and your passion and your talent and your skill in all of them that I've witnessed, at least, plus being a friend and a good listener, it's wonderful that you have these opportunities time and time again to get the message out in a way that's really palatable and believable and relevant. That's the word I'm looking for.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. And I'd love to visit you in Egypt at some point.
Please do. Oh my gosh, the last place where I stayed was a 3-minute walk to the Red Sea to go swim. It's always pretty mild and beautiful, and I just would love to have you come visit. It's amazing. Yeah. And Chef Al can be at our market and do some great food. And we rock the whole town. Yes,
I love it. Road trip, plane trip, I guess.
Absolutely, please, yes. And Judy, you are more than welcome as well to come.
Yes,
join in the fun.
How fun!
Well, thanks again, and bon voyage again, and good travels, and stay in touch.
I will. Thank you both so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, is there a website or anything that if people did want to reach out?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. ElloraWellness.com. So Ellora, unlike alluring, which it sounds like, it's ELLORA, named after the caves in India that welcomed in all travelers. The Buddhists who built it welcomed in everybody like family, which is kind of the motto of Ellora Wellness. So ELLORA wellness.com. It's also the same on Facebook or Instagram. People can reach out and say hello. And if you want my recipe for my decadent vegan brownies, you can always reach out.
Oh, I'm going there.
Yeah, we're going there. We'll make them together, Judy.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you both so much.
You've been listening to a KPOV Critical Conversation. To hear more engaging interviews on important topics, please visit kpov.org/critical-conversations.